have things I'd like to discuss. And it all goes around this book, Swamp Thing. Again, from Walmart. Doesn't come out again until next month. But
what's next month?
The next issue, Mom.
Oh, okay.
You want me to...
No, never mind. Go on. Sorry.
Okay. Doesn't come out again until next month, though. I'm sorry if y'all are lost in this. Don't be scared. It has a nifty pickup page where it tells you, hey, this is what happened. And for those of you who don't know, I'm curious to see what happens primarily to Swamp Thing in the TV show. They could do a TV show around this by itself. Because in this alone, Alec Holland comes back. Not interested in that? Well, we have Blue Devil, The Adventures of Blue Devil, and The Adventures of Blue Devil and Ragman, and how they got turned into giant dogs, which they could totally do as like computer animated. I'd love to see that. Absolutely. I mean, just picture it like giant computer animated dogs. And Flippy would be wonderful. He'd be wonderful inclusive material. I mean, it would just be enjoyable. Guy got kicked out of the freak circus, saved by Batman. I mean, it warms your heart. I'm not telling it right, but it warms your heart. And I keep asking Mom, what I want to hear you guys' opinion on this. What do you think will be after they run out of Swamp Thing ideas? You know, like after they run out of material, what's gonna happen? Will they do what Stan Lee did with Spider-Man and say, "Oh, I'm just gonna keep going"? Because the odds of them running into a good idea and just going with it, like he did with Spider-Man and the wedding. Because for those of you who don't know, Stan Lee wanted to marry Spider-Man off first in the comic strip, but then they got the idea to do that in the Marvel book. They could totally do that with Swamp Thing. I hope they keep the series going. I'm not one of those people that believes the comic industry is dying. But if it does, they could definitely do stuff like this. And DC All Access is always going to be amazing. I mean, that's just the way of the future and the way things are going right now. I'd love to see the two Swamp Things from the original story and the original story they have in the book, the very first one, and the reprint story like meet up. I'd like to see a thing acknowledging like Crisis, because they don't say that this happens like right after the New 52. They don't isolate you in that regard. They don't expect you to know whole big swaths of continuity, but yet they don't isolate you old fogies like me either. Yeah, I'm almost as old as Batman now. But I still got old Batman to be as old as. It just keeps going. The goalpost. It's right there. Anyway, I'd love to see those two meet up in Crisis. Because they are gonna do more Crisis stories. They'd be stupid not to. Because Crisis is coming on TV. Even if they do nothing with Swamp Thing until they just discard my idea that has to do with Swamp Thing being on the TV show. They will be stupid if they don't do something with Crisis. So my thought was that, maybe the first story happens after Crisis or before. I don't know. DC, get on that. Tell me when this happens in the next thing. Yeah. Otherwise than that, good story. Um, in it they have a story about Animal Man, which that portion of Animal Man I've thought about not covering. Yeah, I'm just picking my nose. Yeah. So, I've thought about not covering that portion of Animal Man, but at the same time, you have to know where it's going, because they might meet up with Swamp Thing later on in the future. And if they do, um, you'll definitely see that down the line. Seriously now, my nose itches. Um, but Maxine ends up being the avatar of the green, but in Death of Animal in the Death of Animal Man, she ends up hating him because of all the adventures they went on and all that stuff. Because It's quite an interesting story, and they've never filled in the gap to my satisfaction between that and the other thing. So they definitely could do that there too. Right now they're in like a trailer type thing, and they're going to meet Swamp Thing. So they are going in that direction. I'd love to see all three of the stories like meet up. I don't know if Shadow Pact ever did, but I know Animal Man and Swamp Thing definitely did. And the second story was basically a reprint from a TPB I have from way back in the day that Grandma read to me. We made it like halfway through, but now I know the ending. She won't remember, but we can read it just like new. That's one of the fun things about time, kids. Keeps marching on. Um, I found it interesting that in the second story that Alec, like I said, Alec Holland comes back. You got a dark matter monster. Stuff that's just made for TV. Yeah. What do you all think, though? That's the more important thing. Am I wrong? Let me know. Yes, Mom?
You gotta click the thing.
Do you think that Animal Man could get his own TV show? And before I get any more thoughts, Bob out.